Hey guys, it's that time of week again where I bring you the facts for another serious matter in the merryland of gaming. So, for the first time in 24 years, one of the main leading partners for E3 has abandoned us. Yes, that's right, as you all know, Sony announced in November of 2018 that they would not appear in this year's E3 conference. Now, obviously, I've been looking into this to find out exactly why one of the main leading promoters for the biggest games conference of the year has pulled out and decided to abandon its fans. So, here's what I found. So, as we all know, the company has traditionally held a major PlayStation press conference on the Monday before the event. It has occupied acres of space at the LA Convention Center, where the show takes place every June. Considered the cans of the gaming world, E3 is the centre of the gaming calendar for the whole year, attracting more than 65,000 visitors, with millions more watching live broadcasts of the show. E3 is where big publishers and console manufacturers reveal. I've got no words today. I just cannot get my words out today. So it's where console manufacturers reveal major new titles and where next generation hardware is shown for the first time, naturally in a beta phase, but yeah, it's still shown. Sony drew controversy at this year's E3 when it abandoned its traditional press conference in favour of some kind of bizarre theoretical experience revolving around just 4 key titles. The company's lineup of exhibitable games for 2019 is similar to what they've done in the previous years. The 2018 titles, Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2, are all still unreleased at this time. I mean, Death Stranding's a video for another day because we keep seeing Norman Reedus posting clips for it on Instagram. Sony keep talking about it, but yet we see nothing of the game. It's like, yeah, we've seen a couple of cutscenes, but where's the gameplay? We want to see some gameplay. So it's a bit disappointing that we won't see that this year. So months after the event, Sony probably likely decided, without major new announcements for this year and a rather expensive E3 presence, is not required. So like, basically they're saying, why should we waste our money to just appear and talk about shit that you already know about? So, you know, they'd probably just talk about Death Stranding again, because by the time June comes around, by the time the next E3 comes around, we will have had The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 2 will be out. Days Gone will be out as well, so there'll be no need for them to talk about it. They'll only have Death Stranding to talk about, really. So that's probably one contributing factor as to why they pulled out. E3 press conferences usually take place in giant venues around LA, such as the Gallon Center and the Memorial Sports Arena, which costs quite a lot of money to rent. I mean, I have been looking into the prices, and my god, it is extortionate. It costs more to rent something out for that day of just promoting stuff than it does for me to pay my rent for an entire year. It is absolutely crazy. So Sony is not the first major company to pull out of the event. I mean, last year Microsoft held most of its game presentations at the nearby LA Live Theatre, while EA Games and Devolver Digital held its own events in separate buildings and parking lots around the centre. I mean, why do that? What, are they not good enough for the masses, huh? Gotta have your own little places thinking that you're better than us, huh? Is that it? You know what I mean, guys? But yeah, I mentioned some of this in last week's fact video. Sony's exodus from E3 led to many industry observers to predict something similar this year for a PS4 successor. So, you know, as I said in the last video, the next generation of console gaming. Are they going to announce a new console this year? And just say, well, yeah, we're announcing it, but we wanted to do it on our own terms, separately from everybody else. You know, so they didn't have have the spotlight taken away by Microsoft or Nintendo or some shit. But Sony CEO has said recently the electronics giant is actually working on a new console, but offered no specifics on a timeline for its market's release. Which, as I said, it's led to a lot of theories and speculations that they're just not ready to announce it yet. That they're just going to probably or possibly announce it at the end of this year. We don't know yet. Because the research I've done, it's been extremely lacking in that department, actually. So anyway, as development continues on a new console, Sony could be preparing for a drop in current gen development internally, and perhaps a decision to hold their cards back for a major reveal event outside of E3. So maybe the Gaming Awards in December of this year. We don't know, but if it's the Gaming Awards that they're announcing a new console, then it will be 2020, obviously, that we either hear more from it, get the new console, or it might be 2021 before we get a new console. So away from everyone else's spotlight, they just want to sort of have their own kind of crowd whilst they announce it, rather than having other companies basically take their thunder and say, well, yeah, we've unveiled this while Sony have just unveiled that pile of crap. You know, that they don't want that anymore. Sony are basically pulling out of it because they feel that they haven't received the spotlight as much as they should in the last couple of years. So in the past, Sony has held standalone PlayStation events, including one in February of 2013, where it did announce the PlayStation 4's arrival later that year, which allowed nothing but new games to be unveiled at E3 that year. So perhaps they're doing the same this year. Perhaps they've pulled out so they can announce the PS5 at a later date, and then at the E3 conference in 2020, if the console's out by then or whatnot, they've got nothing but new games to announce for it. So as I said, we just don't know because there's not enough information around that. I mean, I could literally find no quotes from Sony, no quotes from the CEO about it. All I've found is just mythical rumours on the land of forums, which I tend to stay away from for these fact-finding videos. But I did find one quote. In a lengthy answer to the publication's questions regarding E3, Sony executive explains the trade show used to be for trade. So E3 used to be for trade. So it was for retailers and journalists would flock to LA to learn about new games on the horizon for their respective fields. Nowadays, Sony has its own kind of trade show called Destination PlayStation. I think it's also on YouTube. They've got a channel for it, which informs retailers of platform holders' plans for the coming years. As for games media, the internet has practically lessened the impact of reporting from E3. So, in other words, the trade show became a trade show without a lot of trade activity. The world has definitely changed in that aspect, but E3 hasn't necessarily changed with it. So basically, Sony is beginning to feel that traditional forms of media and traditional forms of distributing information is not needed in that way anymore. Which does make a lot of sense, because E3, I mean last year's E3, I noticed it was just a load of guys chatting shit for about an hour, and then we got a gameplay trailer, and then they were chatting shit for another hour. And it's a lot of the time they weren't even chatting about the game that they were trying to unveil at the time. They were just chatting random shit. So I can actually understand where Sony is coming from this and why they have pulled out. But Sony also just simply doesn't want to falsely build expectations when it's focusing more and more on fewer, like, higher quality games. So the indie titles that PlayStation's giving out for PlayStation Plus members, sort of thing. So I suppose, again, it all does make sense. We're still hoping it'll have some kind of plan for a consumer-facing presentation later this year, but what form it takes, or even if we get any communication on that matter at all, does remain to be seen. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear your thoughts and comments on this matter. Just drop me a line, no matter what you think about it. Because it is a shame that they've pulled out after 24 years of attending. I mean, it's not like in previous years they've just said, oh well, we're not showing up at all. You know, they have turned up in some kind of way or form in the last 24 years, and this time they've just said no, we're not coming. We just don't want to. So it is a surprise move. So the Entertainment Software Association, the lobbyist group that runs E3, did confirm the news alongside with Sony, and to be honest, the move has given many cause to believe, as I said, that the company is gearing up to release the PS5 in 2020, or just announce it at the end of 2019 and then we get it in 2020, which, as I said, will allow them to just unveil nothing but new games and new content at the next year's E3 conference. So just losing my place, because I have written all this down in a script again because it was just far too much for me to memorize, so just bear with me while I find my place again. Alright, Sony released in a statement of November 2018, as the industry evolves, Sony Interactive Entertainment continues to look for inventive opportunities to engage the community. PlayStation fans mean the world to us, and we always want to innovate, think differently, and experiment with new ways to delight gamers. As a result, we have decided not to participate in E3 2019. We are exploring new and familiar ways to engage our community in 2019 and can't wait to share our plans with you. So, coming back to last week's Just the Facts video about the next generation of consoles, maybe it is down to that. Like, at E3 this year, fair enough, Microsoft may announce a new console. And Sony just don't want to be there for that again this year. They don't want to have all that competition roaming around. They don't want to have people watching it live to switch between each live stream, switch between Microsoft, switch between Sony, and like, oh, which one's announced it first? Oh, did I miss this one? Blah, blah, blah. They don't want all the crowds to be messing around, because Xbox fans are fans of PlayStation as well. PlayStation fans are fans of Xbox, and then you've just got those guys that are fans of just one particular console. And you know, the crowds are going to be all over the place. So it kind of tells me that they are doing it to escape from Microsoft and any other company that might be at E3 this year. And it's not surprising, given kind of the lack of communication and whatnot at E3 in the last few years. Because as I said earlier, last year they were just chatting shit. You know, they chat shit for an hour, we get a gameplay trailer, they talk about the gameplay trailer for a bit, and then they chat shit again for another hour until we get another gameplay trailer. So, again, it does make a lot of sense. But given that Sony typically has a massive presence at E3, both in terms of their presentation and on the show floor, many fear that this represents a major blow to the annual LA trade show. As without Sony there, will anyone even turn up? You know, apart from the Xbox baby fans. Forgive me if you're an Xbox fan on this channel. I just really don't like Xboxes at all. Yeah, for the past 5 years, Nintendo has also chosen to sort of move away from the traditional E3 show model in favor of hosting a series of Nintendo Directs and Treehouses. I don't know why they call it Treehouses, but you know, were they hosting the event in a treehouse? did they draw the door on with a magic marker and just let people come in? You know. But this leaves Microsoft as the only one of the big three left to hold the standard at E3 press conference this year. Unless they too decide to pull out before June, which is doubtful, because you know we're in March now, so it's doubtful that Microsoft will pull out. But yeah, I think I've just about covered everything there, guys. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'd be really sorry about that. I'd be really interested to know what you guys think and feel about Sony pulling out of E3. Do you think Microsoft may follow suit and may pull out as well? Because I'm not too sure what Microsoft can offer us either, as opposed to Sony pulling out. But yeah, anyway guys, I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned to the channel, as I'll be back again with another fact-finding episode next week. Until then, shout out to all subscribers, old and new. I really do appreciate the love and support through this 90-day streaming ban series. You've all stuck by me and I really do appreciate it. Even gained a few new subscribers. We're that one step closer to 800. We're now at 798 subscribers. We are so getting closer to that goal of 800. But yeah, we are almost 2 months into our 90-day ban. So we are closing in on getting a return from those Telltale games that I promised after Christmas. I did put them on a mid-season break from Christmas, and I hope to bring them back at the end of January, but yeah, the whole 90-day ban thing happened, so just consider it the whole 3-month hiatus thing that we get from shows like The Walking Dead and The Flash and Gotham and things like that. But yeah, until next time, this has been Just the Facts with Gamerdude. Happy gaming, and I hope I will catch you all real soon. Catch you later.